patience is a virtue in early spring. I always find it so tempting to rush out and plant as soon as the ground can be worked. But between early March and late May, you really never know if your yard will be buried under snow or under a foot of water. But even when the garden isn't giving, there is still life out there. Today, I'm going to share with you a handful of wild herbs you can forage in early spring to help you get through the infamous hungry gap. If you're a homesteader, you're probably already familiar with the term the hungry gap or the hunger gap, but if you're not, let me briefly explain. So the hungry gap is a period of time, usually 2 to 3 months, from late winter to early summer, where there are virtually no vegetables in the garden to harvest that are ready to eat. It's during the gap months typically where the harvest from last year, like your storable varieties of produce like potatoes, onions, squash, garlic, things like that are beginning to run out, or even some of your produce might be starting to sprout in anticipation for your springtime planting. In early spring, this is typically a time where we're planting peas and spinach and brassicas, different cool season crops that can handle a little bit of frost. But unfortunately, those vegetables will also not be ready to eat for a period of at least a month and a half to 2 to 3 months. So the hungry gap is a very real issue here in Maine, especially if you're trying to rely on only your food stores to get you all the way to the next harvest time. And I've often wondered, even long before I became a homesteader, how it was that colonialists and the Native Americans were able to survive the hungry gap. What was it that they would eat when it seems like there's virtually nothing growing outside? Well, there are a few answers to this question, but for the sake of this channel's focus content, we are going to talk about a handful of early springtime survival foods that you can find growing naturally in a climate like Maine. Before we get started though, if you could, please don't forget to hit the like button down below and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy this kind of content. It helps me to reach a larger audience. Now let's talk about what to eat when there seems to be nothing to eat. You will recognize a young emerging burdock by the dark green leaves with a soft white underside. While burdock is well known for its pesky flowers that get stuck in clothing and animal fur, it's also a substantial detoxifying springtime food thanks to its long taproot that can descend into the ground up to 1 meter deep. In Japan, in fact, burdock root is often shredded and prepared with carrots as a dish called kinpira gobo. This dish is both savory and sweet, so not all survival foods have to taste like dirt, as my husband likes to jokingly say. Harvest the root and prepare it like any root vegetable, sautéing, baking, or boiling as desired. The root is an excellent blood purifier and detoxifier. The young leaves can also be cooked and consumed. More mature leaves I find are too bitter for consumption. Now on to one of my favorite plants, dandelion. You can consume the leaves, the flowers, and the roots of dandelion, meaning that this plant has something to offer at almost any time of the year. Like burdock, dandelions have a substantial taproot system that can be harvested in early spring to provide nutrition and calories in urgent situations. Young dandelion greens are both frost hardy and tasty, and I think they go great mixed into a springtime salad and eaten raw. Similar to burdock, more mature leaves turn bitter to the taste, but they can still be used in teas to help stimulate the digestive system. Early season dandelion flowers can also be harvested to make dandelion fritters, one of my favorite springtime snacks. Dandelions are high in potassium and vitamins A, B, C, and D. If you want to learn more about all the medicinal benefits of dandelion, feel free to check out my video linked in the corner. Creeping Charlie, also known as ground ivy, gets a lot of hate in the gardening world, and I won't deny it. Like many plants, such as dandelion, it's a naturalized but non-native plant to North America. And with little that we can do in the immediate about our changing climate, I've taken a Taoist approach to how I view nature's most persistent and resilient plants. And I hope that I can convince you to do so as well, as these plants are making themselves readily available to anyone who's willing to recognize their hidden values. Creeping Charlie is a member of the mint family that emerges in early spring, just in time for springtime allergy season, especially when we're experiencing congestion in the sinuses and throat. The aerial parts, including the flowers, leaves, and stem, can be consumed and steeped in tea to make a wonderful tonic that's high in vitamin C and was traditionally used to treat scurvy. The best time to harvest nettle leaf is in early spring. Just don't forget to wear gloves because this plant has little spikes of formic acid that sting and itch if it comes into contact with the skin. The formic acid is easily neutralized with hot water or heat. The tender leaves of a young nettle plant are preferred for eating as they are low in oxalates, common in dark leafy greens, and oxalates are known to contribute to the formation of kidney stones. So just something to keep in mind when you're harvesting nettle, the earlier the better. There are so many ways to prepare nettle. You can make it into a pesto, you can eat it with onions and cabbage in a saute, or you can even add it to different ferments to capture the many vitamins and minerals nettle has to offer. Nettles also have an antihistamine effect, making it useful for springtime allergies. Nettle is high in calcium, magnesium, vitamin B6, and even protein. In fact, 1 cup of nettles can contain as much as 2.6 grams of protein, or 4% of your daily value. You can learn more about stinging nettle by watching my video linked above. A nutritious and cooling herb, chickweed is a self-seeding annual plant among the first to emerge in the springtime. You can find it first along the sunny sides of buildings and rock beds, already flowering. According to Backyard Medicine by Julie Breton-Seal and Matthew Seal, chickweed was once sold in the streets of London and eaten fresh. Chickweed is high in vitamins A and C, with many minerals such as iron, copper, magnesium, and calcium. It can be mixed with pine nuts to make a tasty pesto. While typically not a naturally occurring plant in the wild, a bed of chives established in a garden are some of the first plants to happily provide an edible and tasty crop in early spring. In fact, it's usually when my chives begin to emerge from my garden that I know spring is truly on its way. Chives have a wonderful onion flavor that goes well in savory dishes. Eaten raw, it can be used to flavor salads and to add additional taste to soups and stews. Like Creeping Charlie, chives are high in vitamin C. Plant this once in your garden and you will have an early springtime perennial for many years to come. Our last but certainly not least is the lovely effeminate yarrow. You will recognize yarrow by her soft feather-like leaves that emerge in tight clusters in early spring. Yarrow makes a wonderfully soft ground cover when regularly mowed, but if you do let it grow, you will see the tall white flowering stalks that look similar to wild carrot. Young yarrow leaves can be eaten raw or cooked. More mature leaves can be used in tea, making a very bitter but powerful digestive tonic. Yarrow contains vitamins A and C, as well as minerals such as potassium, zinc, magnesium, calcium, phosphorus, and niacin. So this is just 7 early springtime plants that grow here in April and May. There are tons more wild edible plants that are growing just outside your back door, so I would encourage you to do a little bit of research based on your own climate and discover what's out there. So what edibles do you like to forage in early spring? Please feel free to share with others in the comment section. Also, if you have any plants in mind that can be added to a garden as part of a permaculture setup, that would be a great resource for anybody who's trying to create a permaculture garden that feeds year round. So that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching, and if you could, before you leave, hit the like button on this video if you enjoyed this content, and consider subscribing to the channel. Thanks again, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.